8:17 now, time for Health Watch. Today we're talking about weight and breast cancer. Doctors have known for years that gaining weight can increase a woman's risk of getting breast cancer. But a new study finds that being thin in childhood may also be a risk factor. Our Dr. Jennifer Ashton is here to explain. Good morning.
Good morning, Maggie.
Please do explain, because we hear that being overweight can increase our risk for breast cancer, but this study says that being thin as a kid increases our risk. How do you make sense of that?
Exactly. It's counterintuitive. So let's look at what the study showed. It was done in Sweden. It looked at 6,000 women, half of whom had breast cancer, half of whom did not. It showed them this picture of about 9 different body types and asked them to recall what they looked like when they were 7 years of age. And what they found is that the women who said they were on the lower end of that actually were at a higher risk for breast cancer after menopause. Okay. Not exactly what you would expect.
So their memory could be flawed, one.
Correct.
But let's assume that it's correct and they were thin as children. Is there any theory as to why being thin as a girl could increase your risk for breast cancer?
Well, they're working on that. And as we've said before on this show, breast cancer is an incredibly complex disease. Not one factor is wholly responsible for a woman's development of breast cancer. But one of the theories is that heavier children actually produce sex hormones that protect the breast from future development of breast cancer. This is different than the research that has clearly shown that heavier women, especially those postmenopausal women, are at a higher risk because we know body fat produces estrogen. This is a very complicated issue, and the researchers here are certainly not trying to imply that we should advocate overweight children as a protection against later breast cancer.
What are some other risks, known risks for breast cancer?
Well, look, a lot of them, Maggie, as we've said before, are things not inside our control. Our family history, genetic basis for breast cancer, which accounts for about 10%, the age at which girls get their first period, the age at which they have their first child, all of those things play into a risk. But there are things that women can do, even starting in adolescence.
At any age, right?
Exactly, that are in our control, and they bear repeating because they're very important. One of them, simple, you want to stay in a healthy weight range. In the middle ground. You don't want to be too heavy, you don't want to be too thin. You want to exercise, because even exercise done early in life, in teenage years, can be protective later on. You want to eat a diet that's relatively low in saturated fats, high in fruits and vegetables, minimize alcohol consumption, again, on a moderate basis. Recent studies have even shown that teenagers who consume high amounts of alcohol are at higher risk for benign breast disease. We know that certain women at higher risk for breast cancer should limit their alcohol. And lastly, something that's in our control, if you have a baby, breastfeed that baby. It reduces the mom's risk for breast cancer later on.
And certainly great for the baby, as we know.
Absolutely.
Jennifer Ashton, thanks so much,
You bet,
Jen.
Maggie.
A lot happens early on The Early Show, weekday mornings on CBS.